Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert Global Lab patch notes reading for July 11th. So today is a big patch day and all the global lab notes come to the live servers the following week. So it's good to be prepared for the next week. And yeah, so we talked about this a while ago from the Heidel Ball. A lot of stuff is just now getting introduced in patch notes. And this week has a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about because a lot of the damage calculations and formulas and all the AP stuff is changing. So that's a pretty big change. And we want to look at how it's going to be affecting us. So with that said, lock in. This is probably going to be a long patch notes reading. I'll leave timestamps if you guys are curious about certain things. But with that said, let's get on to it. All right, so we have Wukong, the newest class on PC, and every week they're probably going to be doing some changes because, you know, new class always gets tweaked for better or worse, and it looks like improved to the ability to smoothly transition from one to another. Same with this one, and movement. So yeah, like last week was a lot of damage changes, well, not damage, but like animation moving more naturally and everything, and same with this week. Very cool. Admittedly, I don't know Wukong that well. My experience playing it is, I think it's fun. It feels like a better Musa in a way, but overall it's still pretty fun. All right, change to clause. New moon seed pouch should no longer store items other than seed items. Items other than seeds have been moved to the bag. You know, I feel like this could have been, you know, solved when they released it to the live server without if they did any sort of testing before they released it to the live server. But it is what it is. It's not really a big deal. Moving on. The phrase that states the awakening weapon for Narchilian weapon. This is a Korean translation. Narchilian is the beginner one that we used to use before Season Tuvala was, you know, mainstream. And this one, do they have a picture? Some ore has been changed to be able to be opened by using it immediately in the bag without appraising through an NPC. The following boxes could be obtained by an NPC box to be exchanged one at a time. Okay, so all of these boxes that we see right here, all of these are like old, outdated stuff that we used to use like through progression. I would say probably about 9 years ago. Nowadays, all of these things are 99% irrelevant and are probably used for fail stacking and not even that anymore. So quite honestly, these are probably just irrelevant. These would not have affected your gameplay in any way. So cool. Added the ability to craft a Carlston costume to Wukong. Oh yeah, so you know those yellow intricately items that you probably collected and had no idea what to do with? Those are what we use to craft costumes and melt it for crons, essentially. I have a video of that. I'll try to leave it in the description if you guys are curious to know how to actually use those intricate pattern thingies. I don't even know the full name of it, but basically what you do is you have a house or something in a town, right? There's a certain like workshop, and it allows you to convert them into an outfit that you can melt down for crons. So if you've never used it and you have a lot of these, you could be sitting on a bunch of crons, and that's about it. All right, Black Temple Party. So group 1 has been changed as possible to enter even if all the attempts have been used up. I think that's a good thing. Actually, this is actually a really nice thing. This should be for solo as well, but it's good for people who want to practice the other ones but are limited by 5. I think that's good. It will allow people to do their 5 hard modes and then practice the normal bosses or the harder ones, Depose Crown Prince. Maybe we'll see more of that popping up. So people want to get the hard difficulty rewards first, and then attempt like Depose Crown Prince or, you know, the other difficult ones. And so, yeah, I think this is overall a very good change. So I think this should be enabled for solo as well. So for like all the people who aren't 330 plus AP, if you were trying to do like, I don't know, the solo bosses in the green tier, I actually think some of the green ones are very difficult, minus Sangoon. Actually, I think all the green ones are difficult, minus Sangoon. So yeah, maybe you could practice those. I think Amugi is very mechanically intense. Gumiho has like 7 phases, and then, yeah, it's weird, but they should allow this to be done for solo as well, but maybe this is just a start. All right. Ulukita changed the maximum energy to increase by 1 when each category of the South and North Ulukita. So I assume for all of you who have done the quest lines and discovered everything, starting next week, you'll just probably have another +1, +2 energy. That's cool. When completing the opening of Wukong, titles can now be obtained as a reward. Adventurers who have already completed can receive it by talking to a Black Spirit. Cool, free titles, free energy next week. Let's go. Boarding. The cooldown of the Executioner's Declaration skill, which summons an Executor of a Doom, has been changed from 2 hours to 1 minute. What is this? Is this a guild skill? Wait, hold on. Oh, wait, this is a Doom skill. That shows how much I use that. Up to 2 mounts can be summoned. Wait, this had a 2-hour cooldown? Oh, jeez. The only good thing about Doom is if you were, like the Doom horse, is you could sprint 3 times instead of the usual 2 of them. So, like, if you were actively riding your horse, Doom is technically faster than the other ones. However, I think Pegasus is just overall best because it could take huge shortcuts, and that's about it. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. According to the Heidel Ball, as of next month in August, if you have the Crocodile Sanctuary, which is having all 3 tier 10s, you're getting like a combined version of it. So I guess this doesn't even matter. They're probably just changing this for the tier 11 coming out next month. Okay, UI. As the number of characters... Oh, wait, whatever. Let's read this. As your family grows, more characters join your adventure. You can strategically place them where they needed to be. Yep. Everyone keeps boss salts, like a character, every boss, a bell, and everything. Very standard. But as your roster expands, managing all your characters becomes time-consuming. Yep, I have 40 characters because they just keep giving us seasonal tickets, and I want my rewards. And I'm like, okay, cool. So eventually, it's going to have a lot. And may end up sitting idly by. Yep, that's literally all my characters. To help with this week's maintenance introduced a feature that makes it easier for your families to use their energy. Yeah, so this is one thing. So for all of you who do night vendor roles, or, you know, spending all your energy at various things like worker rerolls and everything, you can now do it through one UI, which I think is a very nice feature. You can now instantly see where all your characters are in the world map, move them around, retrieve items, or even leave notes. I think this is overall a good thing. Just like, nothing really bad to say about it. You know, yeah, this is a good thing. Very cool. Switch to select a character. You can now move characters to a desired location. However, you can only move your characters based on where you have already discovered. Makes sense. Moving to a normal area outside of a safe zone costs 5 million silver, but moving to a large city is free. Makes sense. Moving a character takes 20 minutes regardless of distance. This is for the lazy people. If you could ride there on your horse faster, then, you know, you probably could do that faster, but otherwise, it's like taking the well. 5 mil, easy. Yep, this follows the same rules as the Magnus Well. You can't go in when you're probably in a party or platoon or carrying trade goods. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's a good change. Very cool. Fixes and changes. Okay. So, this part is where things begin and math is going to get very complicated. So, we're going to break this down. Hopefully, some of it is better than worse. So, I'll give you my opinions of this, but just lock in. Okay, so damage calculation formula overhaul. Let's do this. Improve the UI to show detailed information. Well, we're gonna have to figure all of this out when it comes to English and I actually know what all of these mean, but I assume this is all like species, AP, accuracy, you know, all the different resistances and everything. But it looks a lot cleaner than it currently does, so that's good. Limit mouse movement while using technology. This was a big thing they talked about in the Heidel Ball. Mouse movement affects certain classes more than the others. So the few things I could think of. Zerkers, probably the highest on the list for mouse movement. However, this does affect life skillers as well. So, you know, if you do any gathering, you do mouse movement. So instead of moving from point A to B to C while you're gathering, you would be able to stand in one spot, mouse move, click 1, 2, 3, all in one, and like queue up things essentially. So that's bad for life skillers. I never really did it. I just could never get used to it. But that's one method for high-end life skillers that they used. Which saves a lot of time, but I just never been able to get into that one, so I know how it works. I just never did it. Mouse movement will no longer be available when using a skill. Berserker's in shambles right now. Feels bad, but my opinion of mouse movement is it actually kind of breaks the game. Like the way it works and the way I've been explained and seen it work is like you do an animation, right? It's supposed to be like in front of you or wherever you're doing. Mouse movement allows you to use that skill, mouse turn, and so like the animation looks like it's going this way, but you're essentially hitting like somewhere where you don't see it happening. So like it makes things that normal classes can't do, like actually visible in a way. So basically, if you ever seen a Zerker and they just you think they're gonna jump this way, but then they turn and then make like a fat U-turn, that's what it looks like. All right. Increase the additional AP of monsters according to nodal attack power. So everything above 310 you get +8. We calculated this last time, and overall, I think this is like basically they're removing species damage, but they're adding all AP for everyone. So it essentially equals out. The formula for this was before, like, if you are, when you look at monster zones, right? And it says like green or red AP, like if you are overcapped. If you are overcapped, species damage would be better. If you were not overcapped, AP would be better. So because they are removing species damage, they're raising the bar for AP. So it was like a 0.8 species damage to 1 AP, and now they're kind of like simplifying that formula in a way. So basically, AP is everything. All right, the overall hunting grounds will be rebalanced due to changes in damage rules and increased in AP, according to that. So adjustments to monster AP and DP. Named monsters that appear in some hunting grounds will be applied with 50% value. Okay, so let's use Dark Seekers. I know this because I've read this in patch notes multiple times. This is what it is. Dark Seekers, 330 AP recommended, what we currently have now. Currently it's 1150 cap, later it's 1490. Essentially, it's like the same thing, maybe marginally stronger or weaker, but essentially it's scaling towards all the other spots. Crescent, Dekia, 310. Yeah, it's like... So we're going to be doing some grind spot testing when this comes out next week, obviously, just to see if it's better or worse. I should probably start updating my best grind spots video after this change, but overall, it's going to take some time to figure all this out. Hunting loot, so basically trash loot. As the required abilities of the hunting grounds have been subdivided, the loot that can be obtained while hunting will be adjusted so that you can obtain profits that match the required abilities. Basically, what they're saying is, now that everyone has more AP, they don't want you grinding the weaker zones. Leave the weaker zones to the newer players, essentially. Which, that makes sense. I hope that they don't mess this up, because grinding is literally like a huge majority of the game, and if they nerf everything, I think a lot of people would just straight up quit the game. Like, no joke, grinding is the most silver in the game. It's like the main thing people do. And yeah, so this is one thing. If they can't afford to mess this up, this is the loot. They actually have to be very careful with this one. Agris. Previously, hunting grounds that were good for Agris that were classified separately, but this distinction will now disappear. So what they're saying is all spots will be good for Agris. I think that's good overall. Straight up, this should have been a feature when Agris was introduced like 5 years ago or something. So basically, you can use Agris wherever you want starting next week. I think this is a good thing. You know what I think they should add? I've been saying this for a while. If you have loot scrolls, like a lot of them, you should be able to, use your loot scroll the same way you normally do. Level 0, 1, 2, right? That wheel. But you should have another option to turn loot scrolls into Agris. And it may, even if it's not a lot, maybe like 1,000 to 5,000 Agris. I think that would be a fair exchange. So for people who have like thousands of extra loot scrolls that, realistically are never going to use, adding another option would always be good. But who knows? With the amount of loot scrolls they give every day, and even, from events and stuff, I literally have over 3,000 loot scrolls, and I still do grind casually, like maybe an hour or two a day, and I'll just literally, the number keeps going up more than down. Just because, just by having a value pack, you get one, all the events, seasonals. I literally, number goes up and not down, even while grinding daily. All right, Tankuda, Turos, hunting ground changes. Turos is currently not visited by many adventurers. Yeah, because there's literally only one reason to be there, and that's for your Fallen God armor. And that came out like 4 years ago. Most people are done. This will be changed to a private hunting ground so that adventurers who need more core loot, such as the Spark of Despairs, can access it more easily. Sure. Great. If they're buffing grind spots, that's awesome. Changes to damage reduction rate application rules. The buff effects obtained when using skills among damage reduction, so like, add-ons or like Q block, whatever blocks you have, any skills to add defensive layers, like PA, protected area, will not be applied together. I see. Well, I feel like this change is going to affect PvP more than anything, more specifically high-end PvP, but we'll see. When there's a body debuff that rejects damage reduction, so like those add-ons that -5 accuracy, like percentage of minus DR, minus evasion, with a duration of 6 seconds and more, oddly specific, they cannot be received. PvPers, we're going to have to test this one out next week. When there are buffs of the same type, the one with the higher effect is applied first. When two of the same abilities are casted with the same effect, the buff is applied with the longer duration. I feel like that's already... I thought that's how it already worked, to be honest, but apparently it's just whatever one's latest. When using a buff with the same effect duration as an already applied buff, duration is refreshed. I thought that's how it already worked. What's new? Interesting. Okay, well, I thought this is already how it worked, because, like, some of my skills that I use, whether you're PvEing or PvPing, you can cast it, like, let's say a skill takes 3-second cooldown, but the effect lasts like 10 seconds. You can refresh it. I thought that's already how it worked, but apparently some is different. Changes to the effect of specialization things. Human damage is gone, so all PvPers, the only thing that matters is your AP. No special damage. Interesting. We'll see how that affects PvP. As previously announced at the banquet, which is the Heidel Ball, all characters' skill and hit rate increased when obtained or will be removed. Hit rate increased. This means that you know how if you look at your skills, some skills have a hit rate and a crit rate. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. The hit rate stat corresponding to the existing rate of 25, 100, when hit rate is replaced for each character, will be added to the Infinite Mastery. So are they moving this number to the Infinite Mastery skill? If so, that does not affect anyone. It's just how you put in your skills. So, cool. The hit rate increase effects will be 4 hit rate per 1% hit. 4 hit rate per 1% hit rate, and will be applied according to the hit efficiency. Passive skills will have an increase. Hit rate decrease, evasion increase, and evasion decrease will be replaced by 1% for each one applied. Brother, this one needs to be tested. I do not trust PA to test this one at all, so it's up to us next week. Okay, so the damage ratio for PvP has been changed. This is a big one. You know how Dark Knights do magic damage. Strikers and Mystic take reduced magic damage. In an equal playing field, a Striker or Mystic will always beat a Dark Knight. That's how it's been for years. If they're actually changing that, this is the best thing ever. All right, let's see. Succession, Awakening, Guardian, Compatibility. Oh, so these look... I assume when they say Guardian, they classify this as, like, tank classes or, like, you know, big melee, kind of tanky, essentially. Okay. Rush. These would be your ADCs in the video game, or your backliners, not your frontliners. They in PvP, they're on the side picking off people. So assassins, ADCs, you can call it whatever you want. So Dark Knight, Meiwa, wait, hold on. Mystic is categorized in 2 of them. But this one is Awakening and this one is Succession, is considered an assassin. This shows me PA has no idea what's happening. Their balance team is wild. Okay, well. So tankies, assassin type classes. Onslaught is probably, you know, high mobility, not frontliners, but could be frontliners. This is not what I would consider like onslaught class or like main main damage, but where they got this, I have no idea. Sage could just be considered anything. I'm not gonna lie, they're just like top tier. They could do anything they want. Okay, so compatibility effect based on the group that you play. So if you play Awakening Dark Knight, you get additional damage to Rush. So like if you play Awakening Dark Knight, you do more damage to Succession Dark Knights. Does that make sense? Nope, but that's what the new change is going to be. Okay, Surge, they have this one as Rush, that translation difference. So if you play Succession Dark Knight, you do more damage to Guardian things. But when they classify it as Guardian, they don't classify it as Succession or Awakening. It just puts them in a category. Dude, it's like, it makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense. Like, they just probably rolled a dice and like, we're gonna put, you know, Zerkers in here, but not like whether you play Awakening or Succession should not matter. Like, I get it that some classes, like Dark Knight, for example, Awakening is ranged more and Succession is more melee. But at the same time, like, this is just adding more code and more nonsense into, like, PvP. You're just like, okay, so I play Succession Dark Knight, but I can only do more damage to certain classes. So it's like one extra thing we have to think about when doing this, when it should just be like, okay, you're a Dark Knight, you are in this category, you do more damage to this one. That is not like the Awakening and Succession. I think this is just like, I understand what they're trying to do, but it's just like overly confusing. And like new players, especially to this game, they're going to be extra confused. So yeah, this is like, I get it, but at the same time, it's very complicated to think about, and there's no shot most people are going to remember all of this. Okay, well, anyway, changes in PvP. Damage reduction in PvP will be changed to application rate. So, example, damage reduction in PvP minus 68% will be 32%. What does that mean? I have no idea, but I guess starting next week, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I understand it, but it's confusing. And it's going to take a while for everyone to figure it out. I wish they just categorized it by class and not by Awakening and Succession as well. So, like, Zerkers, whether you play Awakening or Succession, are in 2 different categories. It should just be one category for each class. Okay, well, this is why PvP is declining every year, and this is why. All right, so the special damage will be increased based on the summoned creature's attack. So overall damage. So summoner related things. Tamer, Corsair, anything that has a summon, but those are the first two that come off top of my head. Does Nova count? You know, one thing I knew, but really I never really calculated was at nighttime, like Tamer Hailing damage goes up. And I thought that was like, I didn't know it worked for that because I've never played like a summoner class like that before. But interesting. Adjusted the effects of attack power, decreased defense, and increased special attack. Holy wall of text. All right. For some reason, the defense reduction will have a greater influence than before, so they will be adjusted. They don't even give any like percentages of like accurate numbers. And for example, hunting grounds such as Olin's will be adjusted, and Shy's PvP ability, including damage, will be carried out together. I see. I don't know what that means, but once again, one of those, we have to test it next week because no one trusts Pearl Abyss to balance properly. Let's be real. We would like to inform you that even after the damage calculation formula is implemented, we will closely monitor the situation. Yo, they say that about every class balance. They've been saying that for like 8 years, and here we are. But if they take it seriously, that's good. I trust them, I hope. Adjust resistance and ignore resistance effects. So basically all the classes that have grabs or, you know, some sort of big CC effect like knockdown. Well, all the classes have CCs, but classes with grabs and or, you know, faster movement abilities are different. None of these affect me, and I have no idea. So I'll probably have to test this, maybe do some battle arena testing with some of my guildies and friends in the future. We'll see what this actually means. Adjusting the grip due to resistance removal. I have been playing a Dark Knight for over 8 years. We have 0 grabs. So it's like, for me, grab muscle memory is non-existent. But for everyone that does have a grab, this is something that you probably have to adjust for, that 1 extra second delay of no resistance. Interesting. I truly do wonder how this will affect non-grab classes, because with resistance removal, if you're getting grabbed, it's over. And that even if you do have a grab, will it be like who grabs the other person first? Or if you play a class with like 5 grabs, are they just the new meta now? Or how? I wonder how this is going to work. I'm going to be honest. So one of those things that this is, I hope Pearl Abyss takes this seriously, and you know, I hope they do balance it properly. In order to ensure stable application, all skills and save presets will be reset again. So before next week, make sure to take a screenshot of all your skill layouts and all your add-ons before they do it. They're just giving us a warning that's going to be reset next week for the change. So just make sure to take a screenshot. You'll be fine. And then we'll be okay. Item changes formula. Oh boy, let's see. So these are the add-ons, I believe, because these look very familiar. All related to ignore all resistance will be changed. If you're holding an item that will be deleted on the official servers, we will pay you silver equivalent. So like you know all those crystals and what is it? Crystals, reform stones, and all the stuff that do various resistance and stats. Those are getting deleted. They'll give you silver in your inventory or mail as of next week. Very cool. Most people are not using these, I'm pretty sure, because this is very tailored towards more high-end or very specific builds. So most people will not have most of these being used, so I think you'll be fine. All right, well, that has been all the patch notes. This was a lot to read, gonna be honest. This is probably the most interesting one in that I have to like start figuring out. You know why I think I still want to go back to this one and think the reason why it should be categorized by class and not by succession and awakening is simply because for all the classes that only have one, you know, like the recent classes, Wukong, Deadeye, Scholar, that only have one of them, that it literally just gives them, it's not really a disadvantage, but just like less options to the point where like you only have one thing. So like, let's say you are dueling in battle arena with your friend and you want to test awakening or succession, but your main is one of the classes that only have one. Now your options are limited, but at the same time, realistically, if you're PvPing, you don't really have a choice of what you're fighting against. So it's not like most people are switching from awakening to succession or other way around mid-war or anything. So it's like it should just be by class and not what spec you play. It also probably adds more calculations onto server. It's like, are you playing this or are you playing that? Now you do more damage to this. It would just make things easier if you just did completely separate. So yeah, for me now I have to figure out, I play a Dark Knight, I currently play Succession, now I do more damage to these classes, but if I play Awakening, I do more damage to these classes. And it's like, okay, so in a real PvP scenario, you have about 1 second to figure out what your opponent is. And then you're like, okay, so am I doing more damage or not? That most likely would be irrelevant. And you are going to do your same combo you're normally doing. And you'll figure it out like 10 seconds later. So I don't know. This is just a very confusing thing. I gave an option to simplify this, but you know, it is what it is. We'll see how it plays out. But the most important thing is, will I be doing more damage to... You know what's weird? Like, you know how Striker and Mystic are kind of the same in terms of defensive. They take less damage from magic. I do more to them, but only if they are in a certain... Dude, oh my god. Okay, well. Anyway. That's wild. So, brother, this is... I feel like they just should put everyone on the equal playing field. No additional damage bonuses. Everyone just does, you know, for PvP, should be like a skill gap, not class gap, if that makes sense. Either way, we'll see how it plays out. It just is kind of annoying, but aside from that, overall good patch, a lot of changes. And next week, we're going to be busy testing a lot of this. So thanks so much for watching. I know this is a long video, but I want to say thanks so much for all the support lately on the videos. I do truly appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, I have a lot of other videos with actual gameplay and everything. So if you're looking to get better, a returning player, hopefully my videos are helpful, and consider a subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.